Hello, everybody, and welcome to Purgatory. I am joined today by another special guest, Audrey. Audrey, welcome to
I
Purgatory.
I am questionably glad to be here. I mean, it's purgatory.
Yeah, I mean, who's really excited? I mean, there's endless possibilities, you know?
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. You are also a co-host of Ghost Stories,
Yes, I am.
which last episode we have the other half of Ghost Stories that was just on, so go check out that episode.
Yes, check out that episode and check out Ghost Stories. We're similarly wild, I imagine.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. It was a huge inspiration for this podcast. So, already good.
Well, then you just might like it.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead and explain your character to us.
So my character is a grandmother. She doesn't have a lot of strangeness that we know of yet. um, her name is Gertrude. She goes by Grandma to almost everyone. Even people who are older than her call her Grandma. It's great.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Let's see what Gertrude's fate is. Ooh, well, I'm glad that that person and I could come to an agree. Oh, wait, crap. I have more people. I have more people. I have more. Next, please. Hi.
Oh, hello there, Sunny Boy.
Hi, welcome to Purgatory.
Thank you for having me. You have a lovely place here. It's very, very beautiful on my end. Anyway.
Yes, everybody has a slightly different purgatory thing. So my side of the office is my side, but it
Oh.
seems like you have a very nice end of purgatory that you've been staying at.
It's been fairly pleasant. I've not I can't complain. I'll tell you that much. I can't complain.
Yeah, well, I'm going to interview you, get to know a little bit about you. Unfortunately, we only have 25 minutes for me to get to know you
Of
and
course.
determine your fate for all of eternity. So no
Okay.
pressure. Um,
Okay.
But let's get so tell me about your life. Who are you? What have you done?
Oh, well, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm so sorry, dear boy. My name is Gertrude, but you can call me Grandma. I don't look like this normally. I suppose in the world, I looked a lot older. I'm surprised that we did change a little bit when we got here. So this is a little bit what I looked like when I was younger. I'm surprised also that the voice didn't change, but that's something else, I suppose.
Hmm.
Um, I was a grandmother to all of the children in my neighborhood, not biologically, but spiritually. And all the grandchildren included all of the people who were uh, who were all sorts of ages. There were little babies that I took care of sometimes, as well as older people who just needed a friend.
Yeah, of course. How did you get put into that role? What started the grandma phase of your life?
Oh, you'll never believe it. Back in 1532, no, 18, oh, I can never remember the dates. But back when I was just a wee bit younger, I had my own sort of business that I like to take up. I started knitting as a hobby. I was just a young person, and I knit as a hobby. But then people started to see it as a grandma hobby, so then they just started calling me grandma. But I was still young. I took that role with pride, and then I shared I had my business ventures in the knitting world, but I also shared some pieces that I just loved or made custom for my friends and family, and people started to catch on, and I started to make more, and eventually the community started to take care of me, and I didn't need my business ventures anymore, and I just shared what I my gift with the world.
I see. So you retired at a very young age.
I suppose you could say so, yes.
And then was retirement like a kind of like 60-year thing for you?
Um, I was not 60 when I retired.
But
I
like it
was
lasted throughout 60 years.
I would say it lasted quite a bit more than that.
Oh, okay.
I was very fortunate. I'm not sure what year that I died, but I was up there in age.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see. Yeah, wow. Yeah. You're probably the second oldest person that I've talked to so far. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I hope more come because having a long life is a blessing.
I hope so too. I mean, the first one lived about 5 billion years, but
Oh, I did not live quite that long.
no, but they were an immortal being and they screwed up. Um,
Oh, that's unfortunate.
yeah,
That's
it
that's
happens. It
sad.
happens. They're in woodworking slight heaven. Anyway, I
Oh,
see here on your file, that one of the things that you really loved in life was entertainment. Could you tell me
oh,
about that?
oh, so close to my heart. Thank you for bringing it up. One of the things that I love doing every Friday evening was holding a big backyard bash for my community. I had a large back porch, and all of the musicians from the community sometimes just came and they weren't necessarily practicing with each other, but they came with their instruments and came together as a band, and it sounded wonderful every single night. Oh my goodness, it was delightful. I think also there was a rotating musicians every week. Not everyone's came. Not everyone was there. It was wonderful, and oh, it was. You should have been there, Gavin. It would have been. I would have loved to have you there. I
Yeah.
imagine it would have been. You would have been one of the top musicians.
Well, thank you. I have no real music training. But I could dabble a little bit. Um,
Yes, we found out that those with the least musical training were freer than most, and they were
Ooh.
able to interact the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, along that lines, I do see here that you weren't a fan of all entertainment. I see here that you hated magic.
Oh, oh, unfortunately, I did have a little bit of a hiccup in the magic department in my time. Yes,
Hmm.
you see, back when I was, let's see, I might have been just a young whippersnapper of 52,
Were you
and
still a grandma at that point?
what?
Were you a grandma at that point?
Oh, I've been a grandma forever. So
That's right.
yes,
That's
of
right. So,
course.
so back when you were a young grandma.
When I was just a young grandmother,
Okay.
I it must have been 1736. That there was this magician lad. He went about the town, and oh, he was a good-looking fella. But
Uh,
I, I don't know if I trusted him. While I take care of the community, I still have a good eye for judgment. You see, he wore this little bow tie, and not that bow ties are bad, but
uh-huh.
there was something about this man. And so when he came to one of my patented backyard bashes, he stopped the music in front of everybody, and we all looked to the porch, and we were all surprised, and he started flying cards around and wands and rabbits and all of these things, and we were all very much afraid. I was mostly afraid for his well-being because it being 17, what did I say? 36, 32,
I think 38.
30, 30, sure. I'm sure. Yes. And I was concerned for his well-being because some of the folks in town didn't quite take kindly to those they thought were different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I noticed that he was a little bit different. I wouldn't take any action against that. I would welcome him into my home if he needed it or anything he needed, of course. But I know that the sheriff of the town was not too kind to strangers, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, that was the Friday night bash that did go the poorest in all of my years. There was we did have to call the bucket brigade that night.
The
So
Bucket Brigade.
yes, the fire department. The
Oh, gotcha.
Yes. It was an unfortunate evening. I'm afraid he was ran out of town. Luckily, I don't think he was too injured, but I don't take too kindly to magic due to the damage of the physical ports as well as the damage to the atmosphere. It was very unfortunate.
Yeah, sounds like a very unfortunate event.
Yes. Yeah. So whenever a magician does tread upon my front lawn, I'm a little wary immediately.
Well, they do train in deception, so.
That is true. I'm not. I appreciate when people are forthright.
Yeah, yeah. Well, some say they're honest liars, you know.
I I'm not so sure.
All right, well, let's get back to one of your other hobbies. I see here
Yes.
that you had a hobby of mud wrestling.
Oh yes. Oh, those were the days. I had a wonderful time in the mud pits of Weehawken. It was wonderful. We this was I was probably when did I start that hobby? I was probably 86. It was after a while your hobbies shift over time, and the knitting was still very much a part of my life, but it ebbs and flows. I've picked up interesting hobbies throughout the years. But it was my favorite mud wrestling. I could only do it for a couple of years as I got a little bit older.
Mhm.
It was not necessarily the best for a person of my stature. I I oh, there was this one fight. Can I tell you about my favorite fight,
Of
Gavin?
course, yes, please.
Oh, it was against Jimmy Nichols. He was a 15-year-old man about town. He was a little bit of a troublemaker, but I made sure that he knew what he was up against. I said, Jimmy boy, you know that I'm undefeated in my age group in mud wrestling. He said, yes, Grandma, I'm very well aware. But I think, Grandma, you gotta watch out because I'm quicker than you. And I said, Jimmy Nichols, now don't be taunting me before my mud wrestling match. And well, we started the match. It was very interesting. Of course, sizing up your opponent is an important part of the beginning of any mud wrestling match.
Hmm.
But Jimmy Nichols didn't know that I had a secret in my back pocket.
Oh,
And mind you, this was not an illegal move. This was very common. I brought my cup of water in my back pocket to make it just a little bit more slippery for Jimmy Nichols' footing.
yeah.
And of course, Jimmy was about to pounce, but I threw the cup of water right at his feet and he slipped, and it was very, very entertaining. So of course I get down there and I start wrestling him, giving all of the we don't punch in mud wrestling,
Yeah,
but
of
but
course.
the headlocks and sorts of holds that I was taught when I was just a young learner. And oh, Jimmy Nichols, he was flailing around. It was very funny. He was not hurt, mind you, at the end of that, but at the end we had a hearty handshake, and he said, Grandma, I underestimated you. And I said, that's what you gotta be careful, Jimmy. And so overall, I won the match, which was wonderful. But
Hmm.
I also it was my one of my favorite matches because I taught Jimmy Nichols a lesson that day, not to underestimate people.
Yeah, it sounds like Jimmy, really, really needed that lesson to move forward in life.
Of course. I believe he grew to be a fine young man.
He did. Yeah, he actually changed his name to Johnny.
Oh,
Yeah, he
wonderful.
started handing out apple seeds to people.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of him. What a go-getter and an upstarter.
Yep, he is in heaven too. So,
Oh, I hope if I get there, I'll see that young man again and we can reminisce about the old days.
of course, of course. Now, I see here as well that it's obviously my job to look at everything on the resume and determine if the nature of something is good or bad.
Yes.
I see here that you ran for an election, and historically, not many politicians are in any form of heaven ever. Um,
Oh,
what did you run for exactly?
oh, it was an interesting town. It was an interesting town position that they made in 1312. So,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of things going on around the town recently, and uh, I suppose it's a little bit of a touchy subject because nobody wanted this position to be made because we didn't want to have this problem. There were too many stray cats.
Ah.
There were too many stray cats. And there were a lot of rats in the town, and so we were grateful that there were cats around, but then there became to be too many that came to the town. And it was unfortunate because then we decided as a community that we wanted some sort of animal taking care of these lonely animals.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were many people who thought that you could take care of the cats in this way or that way. And I wanted to approach this problem with love. It was it was a very heated election, and I think I said some things that I regret now. Because my opponent was Amy. Oh, what was her last name? Amy Pickles, I believe. Yes,
Yeah.
Amy Pickles. Amy, she wanted the best for the town. I agree that she would have done a very good job. But she wanted these cats. She wanted to grab them all up in a cage and put them in like a small room together, and who knows what after that. And I thought, oh, Amy, I don't think these cats would enjoy being confined like this. They're very free. They're free animals as well right now, like they're stray cats in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So my position was that we picked up the cats and we put them in, and we outsourced them to different towns, different neighboring towns. It would have been a very labor intensive process, I agree, but I think it would have been for the best because some neighboring towns like, oh, I believe North was Hamptonville, and they had some rat problems too, but I don't believe they had as many cats as we did. So we wanted to drive, or well, not drive, it was 1312. We wanted to walk all the way up there, and it would take many people because only one person could carry a cat because we wanted to have optimum safety for these cats and keep them emotionally well balanced. But if you were to walk all the way to Hamptonville, that would take about a week's walk up and a week's walk back. So a lot of labor involved there. I I did not win that election, and I was very upset. Because Amy Pickles did do the cats in a small room thing, and I was unfortunately, I was a sore loser.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime that I had the chance, I told Amy Pickles those cats need to be free. Some of the days I was outside of the shelter, they called it, and I had my little wooden sign that says free the cats," and it was an unfortunate circumstance because no the community had voted, and I should have respected that. And I said, "Oh, Amy Pickles, the next time there's an election, I'm gonna get you." Uh, and unfortunately, by the next election, all the cats were not a problem anymore. It was unfortunate. They had passed away. Um, and I was very sad.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. And you may be the only politician that I've heard that's had an actual reasonable cause. You know?
Well, I'd like to think so. I do believe that some of the cats were taken in by some of the homes, but by the end of whatever term limits they had set, Amy Pickles said that by the end of these term, if these cats are not taken in, then we're gonna have to figure something else out. And she didn't kill them. Oh no, please don't misunderstand me. It was just the way that things were set up is that by the time the end of the term did come, they were already attacking each other due to close quarters. It was an unfortunate circumstance, and I'm sad to have that happen.
Yeah, and it seems like a love for animals has been something that's been a through line for your life. I see here that your death, I see that you were shot for petting a seal, and
Oh,
I believe in your world, petting seals or like touching seals is illegal. Could you tell me
oh,
a little bit about that?
is that what happened?
That's what the resume says. Yes.
Oh, I'm sure. Gavin, I do believe you. I'm sorry. I just must have erased that from my memory. Oh dear. Oh, oh, I do. That makes a lot of sense, unfortunately. Because one of the things I do remember before that unfortunate incident is that I was, so let's see. I was around, I believe it was SeaWorld.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to one of the shows, and I think as time has gone on, SeaWorld had gotten a lot better about taking care of their animals. So I was pleased with how they had taken care of their animals. Mind you, it wasn't like the early 2000s or the 2020s at this point. It was progressed. They had progressed fairly much. And I went up to one of the every animal I like to go say hello to, and I say, "Oh, how are you?" And sometimes they converse back. It's very interesting. They have a lot to say. I don't know if you've ever talked to any animals in captivity. They see a lot of different people. They do a lot of different things, contrary to popular belief. And you know, it was I believe oh, I remember. It was Gertie. It was a seal named Gertrude, which is my name as well.
Yes.
So of course I had to go. I went up to talk to this seal specifically, and I said, "Oh, Gertrude, it's such an honor to meet a fellow Gertie." And she replied back, "Oh, your name is Gertrude as well. I don't see that name much anymore." I said, "Oh, I'm very old." And then we had a conversation. It was wonderful, and I went to shake her hand because the top of the container at the time that she was in was open, and she reached up her hand to shake my hand as well. But unfortunately, as you had mentioned, I was not aware of this new legislation that had been passed because again, the captivity environment has changed, so they wanted to protect their animals. So being able to touch them was reasonable to outlaw. But I thought I had such an emotional connection with this Gertrude that I thought that we had been respectful toward each other, again, I did not know it was full legislation at this moment. So I shook Gertrude's hand, and she also, not knowing of the laws, didn't bother her. She
Mm,
consented properly.
of
Um,
course.
and I shook her hand, and it was a wonderful exchange. As I walked away, one of the caretakers of the SeaWorld Enterprises talked to Gertrude and said, "Oh, who was that?" I heard as I was walking away, and then they talked and must have Gertrude, the seal, must have just casually mentioned, "Oh, yes, we shook hands. It was very jovial." And unfortunately for me, and unfortunately for her, that was not acceptable anymore. So I was taken into custody of the SeaWorld police force, and they questioned me appropriately. I said, "Yes, of course I shook her hand. It was wonderful." And they said, "Ma'am, that's not acceptable anymore." And I was like, what do you mean not acceptable? Gertrude consented appropriately towards this handshaking. I was not crossing any boundaries that Gertrude had set up. And they said, "Ma'am, you cannot do this anymore." And I said, "Oh, fiddle faddle, I can't, I marched out of that room with my walker and my cane and my roller skates. And I get out right out of there. And they said, "Ma'am, you need to come back." I said, "Fair." And then at that point, I did a little bit of something that is a little bit naughty. I
Mm.
pretended that I couldn't hear them.
Oh, okay.
I I was very fortunate in my old age that I was able to hear throughout it. Some of the
Mhm.
folks I know have hearing aids or go a little bit have hearing loss, and that's fine. But I just pretended I was just a frail old woman, even though I was wearing my roller skates at the time, so I don't know why they believed it. But I was roller skating and scooting away, and they said, "Man, come back," and I just pretended I couldn't hear. So unfortunately, the way that they had to take care of it was apparently through violence.
Yeah,
I
there
would not have expected.
I obviously have a little bit of, background having the full file in front of me.
Oh,
There was a sniper posted on the roof, um,
oh, was
that when
there?
you got outside and they were like, "Stop, stop," the sniper got a radio thing and it was like, "Take the shot," and so
Oh.
he took the shot.
That's very unfortunate. I hope it wasn't through my arm. I spent considerable time building up those muscles, like with the mud wrestling. So I want those to stay pristine for the viewing.
Well, the arms are fine, it was
Oh,
right
good.
through the back of the head, it didn't go all the way through, so there's nothing on your face.
Oh,
Worry about that.
wonderful. I'm pleased with that outcome then.
Yes, of course. Well, we are coming to an end of this. We only have about a minute left.
Oh, okay.
But I would love to hear what you think you want in the afterlife and why you believe you deserve that. Like one last little pitch.
Yes, of course. Well, Gavin, something that I've thought about while I've been in this wonderful, beautiful place that you call Purgatory. For me, it's been wonderful. Um, as where would I be the most beneficial? Should I be in like a negative area that some may call hell to like aid in the processing of their consequences, just not necessarily making it a fully delightful experience because that's the negative or the opposite effect of hell. But just to kind of help people ease themselves into what their life choices have made them done. And I could be a welcoming presence and then gently escort them to what they need to take care of. Or should I go into heaven or this positive place that is another option?
Uh-huh.
Because if I were to go to the more positive area, then I could
Oh,
freely.
I'm so sorry. That is all the time
Oh,
we have. But I think given your questioning of where you want to go,
yes,
all of your vast interests of entertainment, music, mud wrestling, animals,
of course,
there's very few specific heavens that have all of that wrapped in there. Um,
understandable.
I think you have lived a amazing, beautiful life.
Thank you.
And what I would like to do is we only have a handful of these. I have a portal gun right here,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
this will allow you to go to any form of heaven or hell that you would like.
Why,
Um,
Gavin,
you
that's such
can
an honor.
you can travel through infinite amounts of heaven and hell, speak to anybody that you want, go
Oh,
to
I'm
mud
getting teary.
wrestling hell one day, then or mud wrestling heaven, sorry,
Of course.
one day, then cat heaven the next day.
I'll be able to see my dear Johnny. You say, oh,
You can see Mr. Johnny Appleseed as he has changed his name too.
of course. I'm so honored. Thank you. I want to spread love as much as I can, and that's such a wonderful option. Thank you.
Of course, of course. So here's your
Oh,
portal gun.
oh, thank you. I'm
Um,
so. Oh, thank
and
you.
just it'll have all it's very self-explanatory. I know
Okay,
technology might be a little bit hard for you, but we have everything on there easily labeled. So you
thank
just
you.
tell it where you want to go and it will take you there.
Well, it's been wonderful, Gavin. I've had an excellent time getting to know you. I might come visit you.
I would love that. You're the first non-murderer to visit me, so
Oh, well, good
that'd be
luck,
amazing.
dear. I hope your
Thank you.
your emotional health stays stable.
Thank you. I did have a training for this, so
Oh,
this has been a nice change of pace for me of a non-despicable human
wonderful.
or
It's been
vampire.
it's been lovely.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much, and enjoy your afterlife.
Thank you.